Greetings, Pilgrims. Welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today I've got something pretty exciting to share with you. We are continuing our great progress on our inventory system here, and we're going to talk about today putting in our icons, picking up and dropping items, and some of the more customizable prefab type objects we have here. So let's take a look at how it works, what's happening now. I'll show you the changes to the scripts, explain some of the changes, and show you how to create some custom items of your own. So if I run over these items, we have our little tooltip as usual, and as you can see now, it's been expanded to where it actually shows the name of the object and a short description. So we have some shotgun shells, we have some light bullets over here, and we have a ammo pack. And if I hit the button to pick them up, there it goes. We do the animation. It's now in our inventory, so if I look at the inventory right here, there it is. And as you can see now, we have the item actually on the screen. Now if I hit to pick up the rest of these, there we go. And now we have all three of our objects. Now, the part that we're still working on is the ability to drag and drop to swap these. However, you can drag and drop to drop them. So one of the things we still have to do is we have a button here, our I for our inventory, which as you remember, locks our player. See, I can't move. So we're going to set it up so that only in this mode is this available. But for right now, it's available anytime because as you can see, my cursor is not locked. So bear in mind, in the end of all things, this will only be available like this, and then when you hit this, it'll snap back to here and lock the cursor again, okay? So, but we'll pretend, we'll play along. So I'm running around and say, my friend says, oh, I need some ammo. I can go, here you go, drag and drop, and there you go. It puts it right at my feet. There it is. It clears this, and it clears out my inventory here. So we're going to talk about the changes that were made to make that happen. And then I can drop other objects. I can drop them as I run. There we go. And we can run and pick them up. And it's nice and smooth, and it works every time. Just pick them right up, and there they are in the new order over here, in the new order here, and as you can see, they are here. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. We have our scriptable objects from last time. We are going to have our droppable objects here. We're going to talk about those. And those are kind of old, but new again. And then we're going to talk about these guys over here, which we introduced last time, but I'm going to show you how to make your own custom ones here and how to hook it all up together. Okay, so first and foremost, there's going to be some updates to scripts, and I wanted to go over how to update a script properly inside of Unity. Because a lot of people don't understand that, and then they run into problems, and we didn't do a lot of running around to try and fix it for you guys, and I just want to make it clear. So, you're going to be updating the BRS Inventory Manager script, and a couple of other scripts, but the way you do this is, you take an object, and we're going to use the BRS UI, because this UI Manager, as you can see, it's disabled, is no longer needed. We've done an update where we've taken all the functionality out of the UI Manager and put it into the Inventory Manager here. So it's all in one thing. So this is no longer needed, but for this example of how to update a script, let's pretend that it is, okay? So if I go into my scripts folder here, you can see here's the script for the BRS UI Manager. Now, say I wanted to update this script with a new version. You can't just drag and drop it in here, because if you do, it's going to do a 1, it's not going to actually be the object. So what we need to do is go to our UI, any object that is using the script, and you just need to remove the script from there. Okay, if I just delete the script, you're going to see this is going to show an empty. So watch here, if I delete the script, UI Manager, let's get rid of that. Now if I go to our object again here, it's going to say that it's missing. If I had to turn on, see, script is missing. We're missing that script, and now it's going to start complaining. So let's just remove that component. So we're just going to remove it, then remove the script, and then you bring the script back in and then reattach it. Okay? So those are the steps. Find the object that you know has the script. So this one here was our example. Remove the component. Now you can do a copy component to get all of the, just like this, right click, copy component to get all the values in it if you wanted to do it that way. Then delete it from Unity. Drag and drop it back in, slide it over here once it's done compiling, and then you can right click and say paste component values, and that will put all your values back in. So I just wanted to explain that's how you update scripts. Okay, so let's talk about the meat and potatoes of what we did here today. So if I go into the scripts folder again, now this time this is the scripts folder for our official stuff that we're doing here, okay? So the Inventory Manager is the one that got the biggest overhaul. So if you look here in the code preview, there's a ton of new stuff in here. So I'm going to briefly explain what we did here and then show how it's all working. Then we're going to talk about the updates we made to the element dragger. So we made some updates in here in order to do some of the stuff that we're doing here, and there's still more to come with that. And then we did make some updates to the FN item manager. This will eventually be renamed to BRS item manager because this is kind of a Fortnite style, which is where the FN came from, but it's more of a BRS item overall. Okay, so we're going to talk about all of this. So in our inventory, you can see we have our scriptable objects. So let's take a look at the ammo pack, since alphabetically it comes first. So for the ammo pack, this is what it looks like now. So we have a couple of things. The name of the item, and that's what's going to appear right here. The item type, this is the text that is going to appear here. See, a pack of 16 shells. This inventory tile, this inventory UI tile, we're going to talk about that in a second, but that gets plugged in here. The loot pickup, that also gets plugged in here, and that is this whole thing. So if you look at this whole thing on the floor, this object, which has all of this connected to it, is actually in here. And what's odd is some of these, it's kind of cyclic, is this will mention which one it needs, and then inside the loot pickup item, it has a reference right here to this thing. So they're kind of pointing at each other, but they need to, because once you drag and drop this out of the UI, we need to rebuild this thing. So we need to know what that is. That goes right here. So in loot pickup here, for your scriptable objects, the loot pickup is going to be this prefab that is going to be in the world, the physical representation of it in the world. Then you can select your item rarity, and then of course the colors will be driven based upon that. And then the item amount, we haven't updated that yet, but that will go here. Whether or not it's stackable, and what you want your pickup button to be. So right now I have mine set to F, which you can't see. There it is, F. So if you press the F key, you'll pick it up. There we go. And here you can see for the others, same thing. So this is an uncommon. And I'm still working on the code for the coloring here of the backgrounds based upon this. I'm updating it from the old methodology to the new. So we'll take a look at that as well. So for each of our objects, there's very little that we have to understand here. And then we have a couple other pieces that we have to connect to. So let's take a look at first the loot pickup, because that's the most complex. So this guy here, if I select him, here's his setup. So you won't need to worry about any of this. Is all the same. It's right here that this changed. So there's a new thing here for item parameters. And in here, you just put your scriptable object. You just click it in there. Okay? And that way the two can talk to each other. So this thing knows, hey, when I get picked up, call the inventory manager and tell it that you need to add one of these things. And the inventory manager is going to go here and look at all of this stuff and go, okay, this is what I need. And it's going to look here and figure out the inventory tile. So if I do a quick play, I'll show you what that inventory tile is. So let's go pick up our ammo box. So we'll pick that up. And then we hit pause. So now you can see under our inventory UI, we have right here this inventory tile ammo pack. And it says clone because it's an instantiation. But if we open that up, this is that thing we talked about last time with the selected and unselected. And right now the unselected icon is what's being shown. So that's this icon here. And I'll provide these icons for you. There's 6 of them in total because we have the selected and unselected versions. So that's what's showing up there. So this whole thing, this object with all of these children, is what is the prefab of the inventory tile. So that right here, this thing. So on my scriptable object, this slot here for the inventory tile is this whole cloned object. And these exist under the prefabs folder, inventory tiles, and here they are. And I'll show you how to create those and how those all work. So that's what that is. I'm just trying to make sure you understand one piece at a time what we got going on here. And really that's it. Those 2 things, and then we're ready to go and we can add some new items here. So let's take a look at how those work with the code, and we'll talk about some of the code changes. So here we are inside the inventory manager, and you'll notice that this area got a lot more thick because we've added basically everything from the UI manager over to here. If we're doing all these changes, this breaks our diagram, by the way, but if we're doing all these changes up here, remember in our diagram for the inventory manager, and the UI manager was really just making small graphical changes, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to have it broken out. Normally it does, but it's just easier because I have to maintain things like what slot number we're using and what icon shows up, and just it's easier to have it all in one system. So a few more things we've added to here, because we also brought over the ability to do the viewing inventory, that when you press I and it pauses you. So that's been updated in here as well. So that's the only remaining key press here in the update, is if we press I, we're going to toggle back and forth between viewing the inventory screen. That's it. So the rest of this, see, as you can see here, view inventory screen has all just been kind of transposed into here. And then we have our inventory, add to inventory, all this is the same. And then we're calling this add inventory icon now. And that's what comes down here and says, let's go ahead and add the icon. And I showed you this last time with how I had it hard coded. Well, now we just have it, it's actually passing the item and the slot ID number. And then so it's bringing in the item and the slot ID number, and it's doing the work for us. The things that are new is this remove from inventory and update inventory. Update's not working quite yet because we need some more work to do with the drag and drop, but essentially update is what we call when you click and drag and swap two objects. So you could call this swap inventory if you want. We just called it update inventory because it was more accurate for us. And so what we're doing here is we're saying, give me two slot ID numbers that you want swapped. Make a temporary variable and store slot number 2 in that temporary variable. Now overwrite 2 with the contents of 1, and then overwrite 1 with the contents of the temporary. And that gives us officially a swap of the two. So when the drag and drop part works, then it will be able to call this successfully. But right now this won't harm anything, but it also doesn't work. Now this part does work, and we're going to talk about that. Let's go to the UI element dragger. So I tried to add this little tag you'll see in here, BRS addition. So these are things that we needed to add to the script in order to get this working for us. But it is based upon the Xfinity original code, so thank you very much. So this is based on his code, and we added a few things. So this static tag, you will need to create that tag. That's going to be for dragging and dropping an item to a blank spot. So that's coming in a future video because that's a lot we need to talk about there. But make sure you add a tag called UI static, pardon me. And the only things that need to be that are these guys here. So these guys here, just set them to UI static. And then I have renumbered these, and this is important, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because we are 0 indexed with C# and with our objects here. So 0 is the first item in an array. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our code will actually click on an object, fall through to the object that it's there, get its name, get the last digit, or the last character rather, turn it into a digit, and then use that as the inventory slot. So it's a nice easy way to get that once these are named properly. So make sure you add that UI static. If you're not sure how to add a tag, up here under tags, and then click add tag, click plus, add whatever you want, and click save. There you go. Okay, back to it. So we've been doing a couple things, and here we have this UI boundaries. And this is a predefined area. We're working on a better way to define this. Right now it's hard-coded. This is a predefined area that says items can exist in this area, and if they leave this area, that's when we call the code to do the dropping. Okay? So a lot of this is related to that. You don't really have to know how it works. Don't worry about it. In here we say, if we're getting an object and we're dragging, get the slot number that it came from. That's important. And right here is where it works. So if input get mouse button up, so we've clicked and dragged and we released. We're going to call boundary check, which is down here. And it's saying, hey, if you're not within the boundaries, or if you are, return this position. So if we're not within the boundaries, then we need to destroy the icon. And then we need to call the remove from inventory. So that's back here in the inventory manager, right here. Remove from inventory, we get passed in a slot number, and we say, hey, we're going to drop something. So this temporary variable called drop item, get the slot number that we were passed, and get its loot pickup. And remember, that's that prefab of the actual thing on the floor. So we're going to get that. Then we're going to clear out the slot now that we've gotten the information we need from it. Then we're going to instantiate the drop item at the position of our player with no rotation. So this is what makes it work when you drop it out of your inventory. And the important thing is we're getting the actual item that's there, and we're working on making this a singleton, which means when you have the object in your inventory and say it's something that has durability, so it starts with 100 durability, and I fire the gun 3 times, it should now have 97 durability. So the actual object that we drop to the ground will be an instantiation of that exact object, so it will have 97 durability. So that way it kind of persists, instead of dropping a brand new one, which would have 100 durability. So we're working on that. It's not quite there yet, but more to come. Okay, so we talked about swapping, which doesn't work quite yet. We talked about remove from inventory, which does work. And we talked about adding, which does work as well. So now this, as you can see here, is instantiating the items inventory title. So when we look at our inventory, let's jump in here and I'll explain this a little bit. So when we look at our inventory, I picked up a couple items. and I'm going to go to BRS Mechanics. So these are items. These are descriptable objects. So what we're saying is, okay, we're going to add to inventory. So pass me the item you want to add. So ammo pack. And then pass me the slot number that it should appear on the screen in, number 0, or the first slot. And it's going to say, cool, I'm going to reach into this item and get its inventory tile prefab. So it's going to go here and say, hey, ammo pack, what kind of an inventory tile should I create? And it's like, oh, cool, you're going to create an inventory tile ammo pack, which is this thing. So that's why it looks like the ammo pack on the screen. If we didn't have that correct, or if we had another one, it would show up and look like a shotgun shell or something, and we don't want that, right? So that's what this is doing here, and then we're just setting the parent, moving it, and remember our magic math here to move it to where we want it to go. Okay, so all that's good. You can update the scripts, and you're ready to go, no problems. So let's show you how to create some more of these things and make sure you understand how all this works. So say you want to make your own brand new type of items. Let's try to do that live together here. So I'm going to do a duplicate of this guy and slide this guy over. So we're going to make a new something here, okay? So I'm going to go back into my old items here when we were doing stuff and say, actually this is pretty good because I already have a resource. So we'll make a wood resource thing. And this is, you know, this is old stuff here, but that's okay. So this is wood, and as you can see, none of this is set up properly. So what we're going to do here is, hopefully this will, no, you know what, I don't trust this. But we're gonna use the model. The model is good. So we'll take the model and we'll move it out. So right there. Yep. Model come over here. Resource wood can go away. Okay, so we're going to turn this shotgun thing into this wood stack. Alright, so shotgun shells. Here we are. So open up the model holder. And we're going to put the wood stack in there. And then we'll zero it out. 0, 0, 0. There you go. So it's right there on the floor. I do kind of like it on the floor. These bullets are kind of floating, but I think on the floor is a little bit better. So that's all we need to do for that. That guy's all set. So we can get rid of the shotgun shell. Yep. It's okay. And let's rename the whole thing to wood resource. There we go. So this is where this guy is at. And now, just for my sanity, I'm going to put this at 0, 0, 0, just so that we have it here. Now, this will get updated, not to worry. But right now, it's pointing at the wrong type of object. It's still going to treat it like it's a shotgun shell, even though it looks like wood, right? So we need to make that change. So let's go into our inventory. And we're going to create a new one here. So we'll even take from the shotgun shell. Duplicate. And I'm going to rename this. Come on. Wood resource. Just like it's spelled. And up here, let's call it wood resource. And a pile of wood. There you go. So we need a couple more things, right? See, we need our shotgun shells need to be updated, and this needs to be updated. Let's call this, it's definitely a common resource, and we'll give it an amount of 3, because there's actually 3 pieces of wood there. Okay. So that guy's all set for now. We're going to come back to him. So let's go into prefabs, go into our inventory tile, and let's take the shotgun one, why not? And we'll just put it in the scene as if it was really there. And if you see, it looks huge right now because the screen is actually this big in the world, but there it is. Now, we don't actually have an icon for this, but what we're going to do here is just kind of fake it. So let's go to the icon. Let's pick something that looks nice, and we have some of these icons from before with all the sun, moon, stars, all that kind of stuff. So let's just do the leaf, since that's the closest one. It's kind of like a, you know, kind of like some sort of wood. It's come from a tree still, right? And then we'll do the same thing over here. Same thing over here. So we'll go up to the leaf icon. There it is. Okay. So at least that's different, and we know it's definitely not one of the other ones, right? So let's collapse all this, and we're going to rename this inventory tile underscore wood resource. Now, obviously, yes, these are resources, and you wouldn't, you know, these would not be items that would be in your inventory. They would just pick up and go into a different inventory, you know, one that's just collective, but this is just an example. So we'll click and drag this into our prefabs inventory tiles. There we go. Now we can delete this from the scene. Okay, back to our wood resource scriptable object. Now we can update this and say, hey, there's a new one here for inventory tile wood resource. That's correct. But we still need to update this. So let's go to our wood resource in the scene. As we can see here, everything is all set up there. We're good to go. We need to update this with our wood resource. There we go. That's good. Same thing as here. Everything should be fine. Now let's go to prefabs. I'm going to click and drag this whole mess into prefabs. So now the wood resource exists as a thing here. Okay. So now we can delete this and let's drag one into the world. There we go. So he should be, unless I missed something, he should be all set. Now these all say the things they're supposed to say. So let's take a look at this and why this doesn't. It should pull from what we have collectively. So let's hit play and take a look. Might need to do a little debugging together. We'll see. Yep, need to do some debugging. So that's not showing up proper just yet. But the rest of these are showing up proper. Now let's see if the rest of it works. If I hit F, there you go. It goes into me and there's the icon. So we added our own inventory type. There we go. And it should work just fine. Just like anything else, I can drop it whenever I want. And it's going to say, shotgun shells. So something's not hooked up just right yet for that. So let's take a look at that. So our wood resource, there we go. Let's look into this. Wood resource, all's well there. Take a look in here. Content right, background. So all of this you can update, but I should be reaching into this in code and updating this. So let's make sure we have everything appropriate. Wood resource is correct. FN pickup UI, that's correct. Let's just make sure. Yep, you should be looking at that. Wood resource. Everything looks good there. So let's take a look at our wood resource here. Oh, there we go. That's the problem. We forgot to do that. Okay, so good. We worked it out together. So let's click this and say we need wood resource. So it should be towards the bottom. Or we can just search for it. Wood, there we go. Wood resource. Resource wood stack. No, we don't want that. We want wood resource. So it's hard to drag and drop things like this. So what you need to do is go inventory. I'm going to select this wood resource and I'm going to hit the lock icon up here. And then now I can go to prefabs and say wood resource. Drag that into here. There you go. And you just hit unlock when you're done. All right, now let's try that again. That might be a bit better. So it's still showing shotgun shells. I'll have to work that out. But if I hit that does well, and then if we drop it, there you go. Now look, it's showing up. Common, a pile of wood, wood resource, pick it up. And the reason it's not showing up right away might be because we need to apply. Oh, there you go. I just needed to apply the changes to my prefab. Now everything's good because this prefab, remember, includes a reference to this wood resource scriptable object, which means when we go in here and look at this, because this wasn't set up right, it wasn't sure what to do yet. See, it's very cyclic, so you need to make sure that those things are connected. So now when we hit play, we can run around. We have our brand new type of item here. It has the proper name and description. I can hit F to pick it up. And if you're too close to items, you'll pick up multiple items, which is okay. This is pretty cool. You can actually drop everything and then hit F and you'll pick it up all at once. And I'm trying to determine how does it figure out which order. I think it does figure out the order in which you drop them. So there is sort of a stacking there that I can't figure out yet because it's something strange is the way Unity does it, where things are stacked. Because if I drop the wood resource first, now the shotgun shells. Now I'm going to walk away and I'm going to drop these other two things. I'm sorry, not the shotgun shells. I meant the box. So now I'm in range of both. And if I hit F, it comes in that order. So that's kind of cool too. I don't know if that's intentional at all, but that's just something kind of cool that happens. So pretty cool. So there we go. We have a lot that we accomplished this episode. So not to worry if you have trouble creating these things or if you want a better example or something like that. I'm going to provide you guys with a Unity asset file that you can drag and drop into your Unity project here, and it will have everything. So it will have all of these guys here already pre-made. It's going to have all of the scripts, and it's also going to have the prefabs in here and the prefabs in here. So I'm just going to have basically this whole folder of inventory just as a asset, which is kind of like a prefab that you can take outside of Unity and bring into another Unity. So I'll have all of this, and then I'm also going to put the scripts and all of the image files, I don't know if I have it up on the screen. Oh, I do. All the image files, so like these things, all of these guys will be in a zip file as well, so you can just pull those out if you like. And if you have any questions, let me know, but please make sure you follow the instructions exactly. Follow the whole video, because there are some times where I make a mistake and I go back and we look at it, we fix it like we did today. That's great practice and good learning. So watch the whole video, follow all the steps exactly, name everything over here exactly. And if you do all of that and you're still having problems, I'm very welcome to help you. But if you don't follow it exactly, it's hard to kind of, catch up with you there. So you may see me ask a lot of people, send me pictures of your hierarchy, which is a picture of this, and then send me pictures of the resulting inspector values. So for example, if you're saying, oh, my BRS mechanics isn't working properly, well, I want to see where it is in here, so it should be a head level object all by itself. If it's not, that's one problem. And then I want to see the inspector values here to know that you have it zeroed out properly here, that this is showing up properly, you have everything connected properly. That helps me to debug with you guys. So I know it's complicated, I know there's problems, I know some of you are learning, and that's great. I totally want you to do that, but help me out so I can help you, and we'll make sure that you all have some really cool inventory items in your scene in no time at all. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this week. I appreciate it. We're going to be finishing up the inventory system. I'm going to leave a couple of stubs. You're going to have to take it and run with it from there, because I have a list of over 70 items that people want. So I really appreciate it, but we don't have all the time in the world to go super in-depth, but it's going to be the basic mechanics to make sure it works. And then from there, you can take it and run with it. And then we have so much coming. We've got, a Fortnite build system coming up. We've got some really cool effects, a whole series on superpowers. So you guys have got a lot coming, a lot of fun stuff, and I can't wait to get to it. So we're going to be finishing this up and moving forward, but I'm still available as always for questions. And until next time, guys, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.